Hello. For today's Excel tip, we're going to be talking about the offset function. Now, personally, the offset function is probably my second favorite function, second only to the famous VLOOKUP function. Now, the offset function can be a complicated and misunderstood function, um, but it can also be very powerful. Most of the time where I use it, it's in conjunction with a match function, and you use the two of them together to do some really powerful data returns. You can actually do what's called a reverse VLOOKUP, or be able to look to the left of a thing. Um, so in order to set that conversation up, I first want to show you the offset function in this tutorial. Then we'll do another tutorial on the match function. And then the third tutorial will be the combination of the offset match. So think of this as a part one of a wonderful trilogy. So when we look at the offset function, basically what the offset function tells us, what it does to Excel is we're going to tell it where to start. In a reference cell, and then we want to tell it how many columns over to go and how many rows up to go. So to help us illustrate that, I've got a spreadsheet here with some diagrams that will hopefully help us understand that. And I've put some arrows here just to help us remember the way offset works. If we're going to put a positive number, it's going to be to the right or down, and a negative will be up or to the left, and that'll make a little more sense here as we get into the formula. So let's do that. So for the offset function, we're just going to type equals offset, and now it's asking for a reference, as you see, and the reference is where do you want it to start looking. So think of this as your starting point. So for example, if I did my reference as cell J7, it's going to start there, and then it's going to look around that depending on what I type in next. So my starting point is J7, and I put in a comma, and now it wants to know rows, and that is how many rows down, which would be a positive number, or how many rows up, which would be a negative number, um, for where you want it to look. So if I put in a -1, it's going to start in J7, and the first move it'll do is up one row. Then I'm going to do a comma, and now it wants to know columns, and that's left or right where you want it to go. A positive number will have it look right, and a negative number will have it look left. So if I put a 1 in here, it's going to go one column to the right. So in essence, what this formula is saying is start in J7, go up one row or -1 rows, and write one column or one column, and return whatever's in that cell. So if I've done this correctly, it should return a C as a result of this formula, which it's done. So that's the offset, is that you tell it where to start, and then how to go up or down, how many rows you want it to go, and then left or right. So if we do a little quiz here, if I type offset J7 and I do -1, -1, what will be the answer that it returns? If you guessed A, that's correct. A -1, -1 would be up one row and left one column. So that's the offset. And as we discuss this in conjunction with the match function, which I've talked about, you can really start to see the power that this function has. Right now, you may be thinking, well, that's great, but why would I ever want Excel to do that? So as we get into those future functions, that will make more sense down the road. So that's today's Excel tip. Have a great day.